This is during the UEI. Yep, this is during the right in the middle of the UEI. I get a frantic call from Mokarish that says, "Hey, sir, we have an assignment that dropped that needs filled tomorrow." I was like, "What? Like say that again?" And he's like, "Yeah, it dropped. It's an opportunity," is what he said it, because it was a good assignment, and it needs to be filled tomorrow. The problem was it was an assignment at Randolph Air Force Base, Pitt, right? That I can't send someone who doesn't have AHC experience to go, right? That would barely meet that requirement. The only other person I had to send was Colonel Kramer, but he was going to be the DO at Dover. There was one caveat that I asked was, "Hey, I've got Cody Morgan that is going to Shepherd. There's no requirement to go to Shepherd with AHC experience, but he's going there because it was like number 2 on his choice. He wanted Pitt, but that went to an EFMP family that needed to go down there last minute from Dover. I think you know who that is." So I said, what if this thing's absolutely filled, what if I can push that person over there? And I'm being perfectly honest with you guys. What if I can push that person over there? I guess the only person I have to fill, and then I fill T6 Shepherd, which isn't a bad assignment because you're just outside Dallas and Fort Worth. It's a sweet deal. And I'll be the first one to tell you that NATO's awesome, and it's a slower pace than UBT, and they take more 3-day weekends than you could ever imagine in an activity base. It's good life down there. I have several friends. One's the squadron commander. One's going to be incoming DO. What if now I can take that assignment that was going to be the 99th, and then I can fill T6 with somebody? Is that possible? And they said, "We're looking into it." And I was like, "I need to know in like an hour." And they came back with yes. And that's when I started making some phone calls. And this is when I'm briefing like the 1-star and the UEI. And I'm like, "Kramer, I need some help. I need you to talk to a few people and see if this is within the realm of possible. Because at the end of the day, I'm probably going to have to choose somebody. It's not what I want to do, but if I'm going to get pushed assignment, I would rather have that over," because the caveat was if I don't fill the 99th at Randolph, I was going to give T6 to Laughlin. T6 to Laughlin. Not the end of the world. Okay, but most people, unless you're from Texas, you know what I mean, will be like, "Hey, I'm okay with not going there." You know what I mean? I'm okay with Columbus. I'm okay with Oklahoma. So this is me thinking, trying to do some chess in my head quickly because I don't have much time. And I said, "Give me a chance. Can I do some swaps?" They said yes. So we had some conversations. I did the last thing I ever want to do is talk to somebody like literally right before they take off and go do a jet pickup, right, or jet drop off. It was like, "Hey, dude, I've talked to like 4 different folks, you know what I mean, that would be eligible for this. The timing's right. I know it's not probably what you want with your inputs and you talking to your family, you know what I mean, for how I prioritize, but I'm out of Schlitz and this is a good deal considering what's going to come next." They were hard conversations. I don't ever like doing that. Some were done by Cosmo, and some people thought that he was giving the assignment and he wasn't. This was more so a short notice. I need some info quick, and then I can make a decision. So I'll be fully honest. I offered it to Paul Shoney. I gave it to Paul Shoney literally like minutes before he was taking off, and I was like, "I'm causing a complete disaster, but I have no time because I have to submit that name, and I feel awful submitting a name without letting the member know." You know what I mean? So I was like, "I'm gonna let the member know. Be an adult, tell me if you can't do it." I was going to slip the mission, the drop off if I had to, but Paul was like, he took it like a champion. He's like, "No, got it. Thanks, boss. We'll carry on. Thanks for looking out for us." And he took off. Right then, about 2 hours later, Mo comes back with, "Hey, the deal's off. You got 2 T6 to Shepherd to fill." And I was like, "To the F no!" Like, and I think, I don't know if you were in the office, I lost my junk. And you guys know I'm a pretty calm person. I lost it. Like I spun to the roof and I was like dropping explicatives, and I ripped Mo a new one, which I apologize later for. But I was like, this is like a bait and switch, and I'm not down with that. So ultimately, what happened is Cody Morgan still kept going to T6 to Shepherd. I dropped the 99th, and I said, "I'm not going to fill a T6 to Laughlin. If you do try and do that, I'm going to go straight to the group wing commander and say, this is the situation that just happened." So ultimately they said, "Drop everything. We're all good." Cody Morgan goes to T6 Shepherd, and I like my blood pressure, see if it's up right now. It slowly came down at the end of the UEI after we did like highly effective. We crushed it. We only squadron had like no write-ups. I like came back down off of like my high and a low, and I calibrated again. But in the interim, there was a sweeping change of thrash that occurred throughout the squadron, and the officer corps were like, what the F is going on between the commander, the chief pilot, APC, like this is bad. And it was bad, but I want to communicate to you what happened behind all of that. Okay, so crisis averted, damage control, which I'm still concluding kind of now with this group of what transpired. And just to be very, very clear, I'm the one that gives assignments. I'm the one that takes them away. I'm the one that fights for you. That's the bottom line, okay? But I do use tools, and Colonel Kramer is one of those, right, to help me do that, okay? So Colonel Kramer doesn't give out assignments. There's no like in-group, there's no out-group. I briefed my execs. Last week, I actually offered the assignment to Spell before I called Shoney. I was like, hey, dude, I think I'm gonna, between you and Shoney. And he was a little caught in the back. And I basically said, like, being an exec for me doesn't protect you from anything. I told these guys too. I was like, hey, I'm just letting you know, I don't play favorites. I don't. The opportunity to be an exec is good because when I get down to like prioritizations and my input, it does help, but it doesn't protect you. There's no promises. There's none, and they know that. They know that. Whether that's an AMLO, whether that's a T6 to Laughlin, whether that's a Reaper assignment, whatever, you know what I mean? That's how that rolls. So there's no in crowd, there's no out crowd, there's just us. So is that clear? Everybody cool. Let's get into some admin. So winter VML, report no later than dates, October 21 to May 22. Let me tell you why the winter VML is the best VML. One, holy crap, look at the flexibility on timing. Two, and this is no surprise, many of the OPRs close out between like April and like August. Why? That's because most people PCS in the summer VML. So there's a benefit there because now I've got a pool that I can work with, and the execs understand where we're going with this. So that I can give you a nice OPR before I kick you out the door because it's offset with the majority of the OPRs. Okay, so I'm just going to say that. It's very tough on your family. So if you have kids between the ages of 6 and 18, that's hard, right? Because of school. But if you are a married couple that's okay with moving in like February, guess what? It gives me more latitude to do the best I can to argue and leverage with the other squadron commanders in the group. We try and grab strats at the group in the wing to say, hey, this is offset from your guys. It's not going to hurt your guy or gal. Let's give him or her this because they earned it and maybe a little bit more because of timing, and we push you out the door. Why am I saying that? Education, but no promises. Okay, I'm just saying that straight up. The other piece of why it's so good is, I'm gonna use Dave Brown as an example. He's known his assignment for like 9 months. If you want to talk like family planning, if you want to talk financial stability as far as like starting to look for houses and things like that, if you want to talk stability as far as just in your own mental space of like knowing where you're going next, like that's almost unheard of. And that's what's so good with the winter VML is that I can, if you're a volunteer, especially for APC, and we'll get into what the bill is going to be, I can find best I can with this triangle. And this triangle, like the execs have heard this, some other folks have heard it. Top is the jet I want, the location I want, and the timing that I want. Okay. Normally, I can probably get 2. You know what I mean? I can do 2 of these if we act with the my vector, we, you know, the normal APC funneling, all that stuff. And we get into a, as we can look in the sheet, your my vector inputs. When I start conversing, I can probably get 2 of those. Not always, but I could probably get 2 of those. When you go early, like, hey, I'm in, I want, you know, a T6 to Shepherd or a T1 to Columbus, jet location, and I want to go at the very end of this cycle because guess what? I've got, you know, stepson who's 12. We got one on the way, blah, blah, blah. It makes sense. That's what I want. And guess what? I could do it. Dave Brown. You know what I mean? I got exactly what he wanted because he volunteered early. And that worked out. It's like the fast, cheap, and good triangle, you know, on the economic scale. This is kind of like this is the way I can try to visualize it. Pilot's easy, you know, it just works out. Next, is anyone in this room who, based on this date, 30 November of 19, arrived after that date? Like 1 December of 19 and later. Okay, good. I think I got it right. I got it right correctly. It needs to be in there. Maybe I should have asked that question first, but that's okay. All right, what goes in the assignment process? I thought about adding some percentages on here, but to be honest with you, they change over time based on mainly this. CSAF priorities, GSAF Air Force priorities. He publishes those every VML and what's important to him, because APC is A1. It's his A1. It's his personnel command. They're just happen to be in Randolph Air Force Base. So right now, this AC bills weighs like heavily. And if I was going to put someone in that range, I would be like 60 to 70%. His weight on what he's pushing right now, because he literally has called, in the past month, he's called VFR Direct twice to the 2-star General, not General Wills, the other one, I'm trying to remember his name. He's called twice basically to say, hey, we didn't quite get these right in some of these bases because they pushed folks a little bit early, meaning they were either co-pilots or they had more than 1 Q3, and we're just kind of doing just some shuffling and some delays on their like Form 8s to get them going places. And he's like, that's a foul. So they were scrutinizing heavily the folks that are going. And this is like more on this side right now, because his 2-star is like, well, shit, I just got a call from the 4-star, like the 4-star, that I need to get my jump together. So the 2-star is now sitting with the ATC functionals looking at every single person that goes through. This is not a lie. This is 100% truth. Okay. Now, I also say that if you're somebody who wants to go ATC, and someone has 2 assignments there, and our wing commander that had 2 assignments there was an old fate, and just left us as the wing commander who gave out, awarded IDE slots, awarded heavy strats, picked new squadron commanders essentially. You know what I mean? Like what he looked at, he basically said, if you're a shiny penny, we'll say there's lots of shiny pennies, right? In a double use, there's a lot of shiny pennies in at Travis Air Force Base. There's less so in ATC, I'll be the first one to tell you. So if you show up as a shiny penny from Travis and you get to an ATC base, you're gonna be a silver dollar. I'll just be perfectly honest. It's a numbers thing. It's also who wants to go there a lot of times is folks that are trying to transition out, which is good, right? Because guess who is literally across the hallway at the 32nd, or not 32nd anymore, the 3rd at Travis Air Force Base. Correct that, Advanced Air Force Base for the T1s, or the 48th across the hallway at Columbus is the reserves, and they're like captains. Like that, like, tell me I'm wrong, like Jeff asked me, like, they all got out as like young majors and are now like captains, you know what I mean? So I'll be the first one to tell you, if you're looking to transition, that's where you go. And I'd be lying to you because I was not a school select leaving Dover Air Force Base. But I was like, my only shot to get to be a commander someday is to go to Randolph, right, and just crush it, or go to Randolph. My backup plan is to join a 39th and be a Delta pilot. I'd be lying to you if I didn't tell you like that was like 49% of my decision matrix. Seriously, okay? And here I stand, you know what I mean, as a squadron commander in the largest flying squadron in AMC. So I'm not going to lie to you throughout this process. I'm going to be just purely like transparent as best I can, open kimono. We're going to have a question session here at the last like 20 minutes. So what am I getting at is that if you want to go to ATC and you're a top 30% officer, and there's a lot in this room, you can be a top 10% officer very quickly. Because you keep doing what you're doing, you find yourself in opportunities where no one else there is like, I don't want to be a group exec, I don't want to be the wing exec or chief of XP, and you're like, it's an ATC base. Not that much happens at ATC bases. Here, like go talk to Russ Logan. He's like, he looks 4 years older and he's like, oh gosh, you know what I mean? And now I'm bringing him back to the squadron, you know what I mean? Like he's tired. You go there and you be like wing XP and it's like, you're doing exercises? Like, we don't do exercises, man, in ATC. Like when you flying the next Senate local, like I don't know, is that what we do most of the time? Like, yeah, it's our mission. Like we fly. So there's some like cognitive changes that occur in ATC when you go do that. But guess what? You get the same strats and the same push, and you don't work nearly as hard. Okay. And there's nobody that really wants to do that because they're like, no, I'll be the snacko as like a major because like I'm getting out anyhow. You want to go do the wing exec job? Go, man. And you're like, well, yeah, like I wouldn't mind it. It's much smaller wing, way easier than being a wing exec here. Go ask Matt Burnham, who doesn't fly a lot, you know, because holy smokes, he's pulling 12 and 14s like every day. There, 8-hour day, 9-hour day, go fly twice. I flew twice a week when I was a wing exec at Randolph because I could. It just wasn't that much that was occurring. It was like OPRs, taskers, but nothing weird coming down from like the chief staff of the Air Force that happens here all the time. No 2 stars flowing through. There's no 4 stars flowing through. It's just very like, you fly, do a couple little dog and pony shows here and there, but that's like once a year. So it's just very different, but you get the same payoff and there's way less competition. So I'm just being perfectly honest with you. So there's that. Am I selling? 100%, but I'm being just perfectly truthful with you. What goes into my assignment process? Okay. My vector, you all got an email, right? From APC that said, my vector, I want you to go in there, put your priorities. Do not put nothing. So put something in for APC and rack and stack it all the way down. Okay, because I'm going to need that. I'm going to need that. But that's the very, very bottom. It's fine. But that very bottom, numbers 48 through 72, make sure you filled them all out. Okay. Advertised billets. So remember how you get bid on? If some of you have been here before, you get bid on by like the Yokota squadron painter for C12s. Like, hey, I want to bid on Mark Radowski. You know what I mean? Like, he'd be great. He looks good. I like his record. That kind of matters, but it kind of doesn't. Like APC is like, that's cool. You know what I mean? Like, that's cool. There's like, he bid on 16 people because there's no like limits to my bid. I can bid on whoever I want. So you don't know that. I can see that. And APC basically is just kind of like, okay, that's cool. That's good inputs. Like that helps educate them. But this is where I come in right here. And I can tell a story because there's only so many characters you can put in there and why you want to go do that. Right. And let's be honest, in the C5 community, there is going to be, I don't know, like 27 people on this VML between us and Dover, and 28, somewhere in there, maybe low 30s. It's only one person to read through all that, and everything else he has to do, like filling assignments. So the biggest thing we do every week on Tuesdays at 9 a.m. is to have a conversation. Every single person that's on the VML, and that feeds into this. The advertised billets is like a little cherry maybe on top of a massive cake that I'm trying to build for you, okay? It's one more like feather in the cap that says, yeah, we think this is good for him. And the build owner said he liked him too. Like, that's cool. You know, I mean, that's rubber stamp this, you know what I mean? And I don't rubber stamp anything. When I say that, there's 3 different terms in APC. There is soft match, hard match, and orders / whip. First, second, third. Soft match is conversation that we have. I have it with you first. I have it with APC, and I say, I think this works good for Jesse Calico. His wife's going to go to Tinker. It's probably good for him to go to Advance. They can be close to each other. That's good. That's a soft match. Nothing happens. It's just like pencil on paper. Nothing happens. Hard match occurs later in this cycle, whenever the CSAF's priorities come out, whenever his intent for balanced force, which right now it's 95% of operational squadrons, we were at 117%, you know, like 5 months ago, we're at like 100, we'll be about 104% after this next exodus of all our experience leaves. So we're still a little on the higher end, but that's where our white paper comes in, because I can feed into these and basically tell a story to the chief of rated assignments that says, we're young. Give me, I basically told him, give me 12 months. And I'm hoping this plays true for this cycle, because I won on the last cycle. I'm gonna try win again on this cycle to get my seat bills cut down to like 2 or 3. Because it's probably gonna be 5 or 6, and I'm gonna have to get it chopped as best I can. Because I need you guys to upgrade. I need you guys to be IPs in the squadron. I need folks to upgrade to evaluator. You know what I mean? Like it has to happen. Otherwise, I can't safely execute my mission, right? And now I'm not, you know, lending you or your family credence and a level of safety that you require as well to go out and operate, right? As a brand new AC with 2 brand new co-pilots, like that doesn't spell good to me. You know what I mean? And guess what? Our engineers are getting younger too. You see kind of all this is kind of weighing on my mind when I make all these decisions. Okay. So there's my inputs. My inputs are what you want: family, stability, money. Dover's cheaper, right? Weird. Exit strategy. If you're honest with me, I've had 4 officers come to my office and say, hey boss, I'm gonna get out in 4 years, just to let you know. This is what I want to do, AIS. I want to fly as much as I can, maybe do a flying deployment if I have to. And I'm just like, that's good. That helps me. Because now when I go through the list of opportunities, when the wing calls down and says, hey, we want somebody to go up to the CAG, I go, well, this is easier. I've got like 2 names instead of 6. You know what I mean? And that's okay. Now I'll also tell you that I'm not going to write you off and kick you down the road with a deployment that sucks or give you a ridiculous assignment early. Like those games were played when I was a captain, that it was like reprisal almost. And I hated it. And that's what almost drove me out. Okay. So I'm trying to change that as best I can. So like I said, I have no favorites, whether you tell me you want to be an airline pilot whether you tell me you want to be the next chief staff of the Air Force. I'm gonna be real with you. When the people come in and say, I want to be an airline pilot, like when I leave in 8 months, I'm gonna be like, dude, my buddy's a captain at United, and he's saying they're not hiring for like another 2 years. Just letting you know, like, I'll send you the email he sent me, just so I'm not, selling you ridiculousness. And at the same time, when people says, I want to be chief staff of the Air Force, I'm like, hey man, or hey gal, like, that's hard. Like, in order to get there, this is what you're gonna have to do, and I'll do my best to help you. So just there's a spectrum, right, inside of there. But what I ask of you is be perfectly honest with me and trust me that I'm not gonna sell you up a river. No matter what you tell me, I'm just gonna be honest. Okay. Your career, I consider as well, and this is where it gets weird, is what I want for you. What does that mean? That means you don't know what you don't know to a certain extent. I'm not going to suppose that I know what's inside your head, or I know what you're going to choose a year from now or 2 years from now, but I also know your character. I also know what you guys are good at, and I can see a future that I'm going to talk to you about. I'm just not going to think like, he told me that his family's upset, they hate California, and they want to go to Alaska or whatever, and I'm just going to say, screw all that because I don't care. No, it's going to be, I'm going to have a conversation with you and be like, hey, have you considered this? This could be good. There's an opening spot at AIS as an instructor, because Robinson, I keep a good line with his said, hey, there's a couple open slots. I think we're going to bid, and we're below 95%. Actually, for staffs, I think it's 90%. We're below 90%. We're going to advertise it, and I go, sweet. You know what I mean? Let me hook up somebody. Does that make sense? Okay. Lastly, no majors in the room. Yeah, soon to be one. Couple years. Stat match, i.e. DTs. Once you get selected for major, so Chimenti is going to be, he's already likely selected, not advertised yet. You're going to get a DT vector, right? And it's going to say Mike Chimenti is well above peers, with peers, and it's going to say staff is going to be probably half or joint, or JCS maybe. JCS is like top 3%. We'll see. That is almost like something that feeds into here later for the staff to go, this is the quality of officer we think we have right now. We're going to give them more opportunities, and we get to the next hurdle. The next hurdle is being selection for IDE that Matt Burnham is going to, and Fez is going to, and hopefully some others here that will be released in about 6 to 8 months. And folks then get vectored out of IDE again. They say, here's how they did in IDE, either DG or they're top 20%. Let's vector them again. And you just keep whittling down in the pyramid for opportunities. There's branches you can take along the way. FAO and different opportunities, like Pollock's perfect example. He was like, I don't want to do it the normal Air Force way. I want to do FAO. Then he found a sweet staff job. He impressed a lot of people because he's freaking awesome. And they were like, we want you to be a squadron commander. Boop, here's back on pyramid. And they pushed him. All it takes is the general officer call. That's kind of how that works too. That's the caveats on all of this. There's such a thing as called as a BNR, by name request. The by name requests are only a thing to 3 and 4 stars. Everything else below that, it's just it's called a BNR, but it's not really. It's just, hey, I'd like this person to show up. Maybe see us. That's cool. We'll put it right down here somewhere on that vector. 3 and 4 stars get turned down all the time on BNRs. Why? Because the CSAS priorities say, nope, I don't need him there to go fly C-37s, be a graduated IDE dude to go fly C-37s in Ramstein. Like, no, I need him to go be a DO in ATC. See how that works now? Because this is the kingpin, and that matters a lot for how old you are and also how young you are. If you're a first assignment too, looking to go to the second assignment, guy or gal. Okay, timing. This is the one, and I give you guys all this data, all this conversation. I can't control that. I can't. I do the best I can to manage it as best I can for lead turning. If I'm going to use the term upstreaming APC, where I can give faces to spaces early, and they're like, that's sweet. I can fill this now. Because guess what? They're human. They want to go home with their parents, or they go home with their kids, or whatever. They want to go do their hobbies, and I can go, I got one for you. It would solve 10% of your problem in the next month. And you're like, okay, cool. Boop, stick them in. Dave Brown. Boom, in. Security. Soft match, hard match. Now he gets orders 8 months out, and he's like, this is great. I'm like, yeah, man. Now you got orders. Now you can start making heavy decisions. Like, I start looking for a house. Let's start looking for schools. See how this kind of feeds together? And I'm trying to lead turn this and play a little bit of chess, but I cannot control that. What I can monitor, though, how many upgrades I have going on. We're going to talk about this today in the STRP. What are some EFMP situations with the families that I know that are in the squadron? And there's several, okay? And I'll be the first one to tell you, a Cody Morgan example is that trumps everything. Even if you're the perfect person and they want you at the 559, like by name request, I know that doesn't matter a whole lot, but it does a little bit. By name request, they want Cody Morgan. And then someone has the FMP and they go, hey, this father of kids, no wife, you know what I mean? Kids have to be within a 30-minute life flight of a major hospital. We can't get that any other place. We have to have it at Randolph. And I go, okay, I mean, you can't argue with that. You know what I mean? With the family piece, but it matters. Lastly, manning the unit. It's not a shock that we're kicking out Adam Smith to a sweet assignment. He's going to be Headquarters Air Force Chief of Aerial Events. That's usually an 05 position. What am I trying to do? I'm leveraging him big time. I'm going to take a high quality 04, young 04, but they don't kind of really know that just yet until he shows up. And this is where EFMP worked in my favor. The lieutenant colonel that was coming out of CGSC at Fort Leavenworth had an EFMP issue. Believe it or not, Washington, D.C. couldn't support it. He had to go down to Randall. I know, it's crazy, but it was for real. I don't know exactly what it was, or something neurological. One of his children couldn't go there. So the spot opened up, and I had some feelers for some soft match maybes that I asked for. And I got a call from Derek Patrick, and he was like, hey, this is open. And we filled most of our staff match opportunities for our older, majors and lieutenant colonels. Would Adam be interested? And I was like, give me 30 seconds. I called him. I was like, bro, we take this now, because guess what? There's 75 general officers that you can go work for in the Pentagon. And if we want to get you on the fast track to go do this, IDE, that's what we do. And oh yeah, by the way, you'll be in Vegas 3 times a year for the symposiums, working with all the flight teams. It's badass, So he was like, yep, in. Full well knowing that I am taking a chunk of experience out of my man. All right. So there's some more chess that's going on here that I'm buying risk with all these moves. But guess what? He would not be a future squadron commander if I didn't do that. And now I have a chance. Okay. I'm like making investments in little eggs and dispersing them and hoping some of them hatch. You know what I mean? Because he still has to get hired. It's a weird analogy, but it's one we use. It has to happen in order for him to be a future squadron commander. And I think a lot of us in the room, that's why I did the Elite Year Award. That's kind of why we brought this up, because I want to try to make future squadron commanders the best I can. Who do we want to see standing in front of you to your replacements in 5 years? Would Adam Smith be a good one? I think so, right? So that's why I'm buying this risk. Okay. Let's see here. Can't control that. Reclamas. Reclamas is like the same weight as like my vector. My vector is like 10%, I would say, of the weight and figuring out where you go. But it's still important, so to do it. Okay, it's important because it tells a story. It helps me tell a story. And it's a matter of record. Reclamas. It's my choice, kind of. Kind of is like with all caps. Because all these things, the APC, priorities, balanced force memo that comes out, staff match memo that all comes out, trumps anything that I want to do. Perfect example, a year and a half ago, Colonel Pollock, second year of command, decides to reclama everybody. Reclamas everybody. You remember, reclamaed everybody. And I didn't know it. You know what I mean? I had no idea. Until in May, when I took command, I got the memo from Derek Patch, like, hey, Paul, you reclam everybody? And we said no to like 90%. I was like, what? And I had no idea that it really kind of mattered on reclamas. I really don't have a whole lot of control, okay? Because of, I'm gonna go right back to here, all this. Because they said, you're manned well over 95%, you're at 117%, and we got to move like 11 people. And I was like, what, 11? You know what I mean? And how many EC assignments? It was like one of the hardest events the first week of my command. I was like, I'm gonna decimate my squadron. And then fast forward 4 months later, and we made the white paper, and it actually paid off. Like, holy crap. Do some fact-based analysis, present it unemotionally, and weird lands in the right lap of an 06 down at APC, who's the chief of rated assignments. He shows a 2-star, and they go, it's a small force. We can probably get around the CSAT priority a little bit because we have some data. Let's do it. Now, if it was a C-17 force that was saying cut our bill, there's 14 C-17 squadrons. Like, they could not do that. You know what I mean? Or like C-130 squadrons or a tanker squadron. They could not do that for the force. But there's 2 of us. There's 2 squadrons. So we have a lot of maneuver space to push initiatives, which is awesome. It's also dangerous. If I screw it up or Hab screws it up, we hose the force. We hose the C5 force for future squadron commanders or for safety initiatives inside of keeping this mission going. Like, it's risky. It's a little bit dangerous. But if I do it right, we can get your desires, your family's desires, your career can keep moving along if something weird happens, like #COVID, right? There's a lot of people that have moved across the street that had to like not buy a house, that had to like not buy that car, stop investments, a lot of weird stuff because it just happened. Now, I have no idea when this is going to stop and the airline's going to start hiring again. It's inevitable. It's inevitable going to happen. But as we watch these extreme changes occurring within our own military, within our own government, with that rapidly affect the economy, it could be like years. I'm just going to be perfectly honest. That spectrum, it could be years, or it could be like 9 months from now where the hiring will start trickling in again. But people still want to move. But when you make it so hard, we have to be vaccinated now with some not tested vaccine, where some people are like, hell no, I'm not going to get vaccine with that. If that becomes mandatory, guess what happens? Now the government has levied another economic restriction that is going to just kill the force. Just think about that for a second. And if you think that couldn't happen, check the news the past year. Okay, like I'm not spitting weird junk at you guys to scare you into staying in. I'm just being realistic, because what I don't want to see is someone leave. I mean, like Thomas Neville, luckily his wife is an RN, and she can make more than he could make active duty, and they were good, right? But if he didn't, like, oh gosh, that's scary, because you don't make as much in reserves. You're troughing. I mean, you're going to make like 80%, 90%. It's less. It's a cut. And oh, by the way, that's if orders are available. That's if there's money in the reserves to go do that. That's if there's missions that you can go grab. And oh, by the way, I've been giving them a mission, buying a mission every month with one long-term MPA crew, and I could say no to that tomorrow. And I'm contemplating that because I've got a buttload of co-pilots that need to go fly missions. Yeah, think about this, right? I've been doing this since I was a DO. I've been giving them a mission to give us stability, because if I don't give them the mission, they can do what's called a cut to fit. I'm not going to go into it. They can just be like, hey, we want that mission. I know it's in like 2 days, but we cobbled together some people, we got some money, and we're going to steal it. It's around the world. And then everyone we had planned for gets ripped off. And they can do that because of the reserves. So what I do is I do a long-term MPA crew, and I say, I'm going to give you one jet for the whole month. Use it as you need to, but guess what? You're on active duty orders. And guess what? That feeds people over there, okay? So if I told A3 that I was doing that to feed people, I'm not, you know what I mean? I'm doing it for stability. That's the reasons when I wrote that stable tasking white paper 2 years ago. You know what I mean? Like, but you kind of, there's a lot of nuance here that I can control a little bit and make a relationship with them and keep the path moving. Because if people are going to leave this force, I want them to go over there. Because guess what? I could ask them to come fly back with us when I leave. I lose all my instructors and my evaluators. We may have evaluators over there like Clang. Those of us remember Clang, to come back and give us evaluations. You know what I mean? Or Thomas Neville, or Drew Bateman. You know what I mean? I've already thought about this, and Fez and I talk about this all the time. Like, is that's a bit provocative, because that's, you're asking someone else who has different, value sets and different, expectations, and a whole different squadron that deals with captains at 10,000 hours that are given evaluations. Now it's a little bit different. You're giving it to young co-pilots. You're going to OMAs with like 1,000 hours. You know what I mean? So there's got to be a mental shift, but hopefully we have people over there that understand us. I'm getting off into a rabbit hole. So reclamas. I'm going to reclama people. How do I prioritize reclamas? I have 4 minutes now to open it up for questions. These are the squadron, period dot. And I'll be for honest with you, I put that over what you tell me you need for you and your family. I'm just going to be honest with you. Like, I'm going to weigh that a little bit heavier. Why? It's because if I give everybody what they want, right? Or try to just reclama folks, I'm going to lose control. I'm going to lose credibility. So when I advocate for people to go places, they're going to be like, dude, you try to reclama everybody, and you told me it's because this, that, and the other thing, and it's just not true. And I'm going to go, I guess you're right. I kind of screwed that peach. That's not good. So I need to be an honest broker with the APC, okay? Also understand what you need, okay, along the way. And there's some things that are hard-nosed, like E&P is a hard no, right? I'm not gonna try and push somebody out that I know is not gonna get accepted because it's not an expedited base, a big base, and they can support somebody. We have an expedited base for the DGMC, the E&P, or things that weigh heavily for me is like, hey, we're pregnant, and that's gonna be like right during the birth, and that's gonna just be bad. It's gonna be bad. It's just high risk, and almost like E&P, but not E&P yet. Like big things, like big family events like that. And I'm like, whoa, I'm not gonna. I'm going to pop that up maybe just a little bit here, okay? The needs of the Air Force is last, because I can massage this to a certain extent, because you're all on different timelines, and good news, each of you wants something a little bit different. People want to go to Texas. There's people that want to go to Oklahoma. There's people that want to go do an AMLO gig, because there's a lot of opportunity there, and I'll answer questions if you have any about AMLO. I've been very successful in keeping folks flying due to AMLO. Alex Carter, still flying with us. I just got an API 6, which is the flying billet approval with PACAF approved for Chief Presnell. That's huge. Okay, so he's gonna be able to come back once a quarter. Literally, the government's gonna fly him from Korea to Travis Air Force Base to either get on a mission or fly locals in Sims because he has to maintain currency 4 times a year. Like that's a sweet gig. I just got Jonathan Anderson approved as an API 6 to come back and fly with us. He's not going to do AMLO, but it's a new training squadron. It's kind of like AMLO-ish. It's the train to feed the AMLO assignment. And then any other AMLO that I ever push anybody, I'm going to keep you flying the C5. Does that mean you're probably going to upgrade? No, you maintain your qual. You know what I mean? And then your ability to come back or go to Dover is enhanced. Does that make sense? And those are 2 to 3 years long, or if you do like Presnell did, 1 year. And then since that's a remote, you get extra points. That's right here. If you do a remote assignment, that weighs in. That's like 20%. That's pretty heavy if you go do like a 1 year. There's not many of those left because many people don't want to go do that. You can talk to Chris Reineman. So he did that for a year without his family. They visited him sometimes, but he was in Seoul for a year doing an AOC remote assignment. But it still sucked because it was a family thing. And Chewy's like, it's Chewy, right? I'm not very good at impressions of Chewy, but that was the conversation kind of went down. Like, I don't know, I guess I'll do it. I think fine, good. So we did it. So does that, this is 100% truth, you guys. I'm trying to speak truth to power a little bit. This is risky for me because when I went through, my parent never did this because it makes him vulnerable because he's saying things that are going to be inside his head as opposed to just calling you and saying, hey, I got you assignment. It is this. And it was serious. You're like, I didn't even know like that was going to be an option. Like, I didn't even know like this is a thing. And yeah, that happened 3 weeks ago because of, I just told you why, but that's an exception to the rule. Okay. So I'm being vulnerable here. I will ask that you guys internalize this, talk to each other. I'm not telling you not to tell your buddies because I'm not gonna tell you not to do that because that'd be weird. I'm gonna ask you though to, when you do tell them that this could change in the next cycle. This summer VML of 22, this is gonna change. Timing's gonna be different. I'm gonna have a new CSAT priorities memo. A different balanced force memo is going to go out because guess what? ATC just got plussed up because the last 2 VMLs, we just shoved a bunch of people there. And then who knows, maybe our commander in chief could be like, Air Force is too big. The DV is too big. Let's do this. And I've been riffed twice, reduction in force. I've been riffed twice before I even made my major sport where my PRFs, instead of saying promote, definitely promote, do not promote, said retain, definitely retain, do not retain. And 30% got do not retain. Imagine that. Like McSwan, good buddy of mine was at Dover, like had his master's degree done like me, had his SOS done in residence like me, was like had some strats, you know what I mean? But he was like right below the cut line. You got to do not retain. They had to cut somewhere. And he was out of the Air Force like that. Like nothing wrong, no LORs, no Article 15s. It happened. Do I think that's going to happen again? I don't know, guys. But it could. It could. So this summer of 22, VML could look very different. So when you do talk to your buddies, just be like, hey, this is what the boss told us, but like it could change in this next summer of VML. It's going to happen here in, let's see here, August of 21 is when it starts. When I say it starts, like I start reclaiming people and this, that, and the other thing with reporting later in dates of June to September of 22. Like it's going to be different then. It just is. Because the crystal ball is 14 months out. That is like opaque. It's an opaque crystal ball. This one is fairly transparent. All right, get 20 minutes. Let's get real and have some conversations. We have anybody who's Adam Stoll, man? You in Colorado? Where you at, brother?
Yes, sir. I'm in Colorado. I'm driving back right now, so I just took a rest stop here.
Dude, it looks sunny skies and
yeah.
You on the ground. Were you on 70? Where you at?
We're in Gunnison. We're gonna stop and Telluride here in a few minutes.
Dude, get some of that green chili, some pork green chili. It's freaking
yeah, will do.
All right. Okay, so I just want to make sure. Hey, Ali, are you on this? Okay, you're on the VML, right?
Yes, sir. I got an email.
Yes, you're one of the youngest. Okay, cool. So we've got everybody online in the room. We can get real and ask them some questions. So I'm opening the floor. I'll stay as long as I need to. I think we have the STRP, the enlisted STRP is going to start. If they need to start without me, I'll do that if we have questions, but let's just open it up, guys.
Sure, I got one.
Yep.
So back when AFPC was doing the roadshow back like October, November in the fallish, I don't know exactly the time, they were all about coast to coast roasting.
Yep.
Remember they were like coast to coast everywhere.
Still a thing. Now,
okay.
Still a thing. Still a thing. But do you know how many people I just kicked over? I kicked 5 people.
Yeah.
You know how many people I'm getting of the same caliber? When I say caliber, that are the same qual, like 1.5. The other person still has to go.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just gonna tell you that I just did like this, like all my chips are in, and like Habs was like, oh dude, I don't have, my stack's pretty small, so I'm gonna chuck you some 10s like that. They're good, they're young, you know what I mean? They're good, like, but don't get me wrong, they're good, but they're young. Like I'm talking, who's already, I'd be like you, like literally like, we know Sparky's sharp, right? But he's also not very experienced. How many locals have you flown by yourself? 3 by yourself as the A code? 1. Okay, that's literally like who we're gonna get. Okay, so that's awesome. Like they are qualled, but whenever I build crews, whenever our next DO is gonna build crews, that weighs in, guys. It's an ORM score. You know what I mean? When I start putting that all down on the OG checklist for go no go. Okay, so yes, it's still a thing. Am I gonna kick 5 people over? No, it might be like 2, all depending on what my rest of my bill is and how many I have to move. So to feed that, if you are upgrading to IP in the next, I don't know, 6 to 12 months, that's like an extra route in the ground at Travis to like latch you onto this base, because guess what? I don't have people. And as soon as you're back from your deployment, guess what, man? Just like I did, the DO, like I literally like walked in the squadron from my like 2 weeks of leave, and he's like, hey, your IP school starts in like next week. And I was like, wait, what? And he's like, I know you don't have 200 hours, but you're a fake dude, so you're just gonna go. And I was like, okay, you know what I mean? And that was also the first AR-IP and Airland IP check ride. They combined them. They had an experiment. They're like, we're gonna use this as a guinea pig. And I was like, okay. And I had like 100 hours in the M model because I had a bunch in the B. And I was like, oh geez, here we go. You know what I mean? And it worked out, thank God. You know what I mean? Pat Cleaver, you guys remember Pat Cleaver? He's down. He's an instructor down at. So Pat Cleaver was also my buddy. You know what I mean? We went through, and it was like, it was a long ass check ride. It was a 5-hour check ride. Huh?
They did not keep that combined. So.
They didn't keep it combined. It lasted for about like 6 classes. They had some, that lasted for like 6 classes. They had some washouts, you know what I mean? And they were like, this is probably a bad idea. And I was like, it was hell. You know what I mean? I was a group exec too. So it sucked. Like my life is shit. So that's that. So if you're an IP, it's an upgrade next 6 to 12 months. That's like an extra route. I'll also be the first one to tell you, if you're a second assignment, that's probably going to happen. Okay, if you're a second assignment person here, I'm going to try and keep you. Okay, because I need you to be an IP with some experience. If you're a first assignment AC or about to be an AC, there's opportunity here to go, and I'm going to bring you back. When I say me, I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to be in for probably another 4 or 5 years. Pollock's going to be back. He's going to be a vice, probably, or group commander. Guess who the DO is over at Dover now? Kramer, you know what I mean? Like, and he's the one that built this whole dossier that we have on each and every one of you. D-Bake, I talked to D-Bake still. I talked to Alice Carter. I said my number 2 priority, other than doing coast to coast, is bringing every C5 swinging helmet bag back to the damn squadron. So they've combed ATC, they've combed the staff to bring those people back. Like Phil Summers, he's probably gonna come back as DO in a year and a half. You know, we all remember Phil Summers. Who wanted to do IDE and then the Poggio job that I left in Italy. We're going to bring them back. I'm going to tell you, I'm going to do the exact same thing. And I'm going to recommend that. And Brandon Stock, that's going to be probably the first thing we talk about when we do our handover. Probably about 90% sure he's going to take the squadron, right, in about a year and a half, a little less than a year and a half, a year and a couple months. That's what I'm going to tell him. Like, dude, you watch people that left for do their minimum 36 months at ATC, and we're bringing them back. Okay, unless they go be a wing exec and they want to go to school. And then we just are like, you're on the fast track. Like, you're going to come back. We don't have to help you at that point. You're going to come back as a DO or chief pilot or something, you know. So that was a long answer to your short question. But
that was great, sir. Thanks.
Okay. What else, guys? No question is done. Like,
this is kind of a longer term question. When do you see us getting back to the proper manning based on what they're planning to do, like the C5 normalizing, and kind of combine with that? Like, when do you see the?
So you're talking experience or faces? Because there's
like they're telling us we're overmanned, like over
Yep,
100%.
okay.
Like, what is their like time when they're going to try to make that balance?
So this 95% manning level for op squadrons, and just so you know, C-37s got dropped. All VIP jets got dropped from I think 100% down to 90. So they're just punting people out and not accepting anybody. That's why we didn't get any this coming year, unless you're going to be like a DO or a commander or something like that, like a direct hire. So this 95% level could go up or down like next year, as soon as this guy says this is where I think we need to normalize that manning level. Now, I'd also lie to you, and there's whispers in the half staff of bringing the C5 back down to 14 jets. Like we just plussed up to get to 18. We have this huge problem that we're trying to get like extra money and a civilian instructor. Like literally, like next year when the next POM comes out, they could be like, hey, we're saving some money. We have a new commander in chief, and we're gonna drop the force down because this is good, and we think this is good, and that's good. The Armed Forces Committee, and they say you're going back to 14 jets, and I go, okay, no one's coming to C5s, and everybody's like going to do other things. I don't know, whatever that's going to be. You know what I mean? Whether that's the KC-46 or whatever, like that could happen. Is that drastic change going to occur? I don't think so. I just don't think so in that crystal ball. But I'm not a fortune teller, so. I think it's going to stay at 95%. And I think after this VML cycle, because here's the other thing I'm fighting. I'm always fighting all the co-pilots are coming from ATC.
Yeah.
Because whenever we plussed up from those 14 jets to 18, did they think they went out and looked and how are we going to find some people that have experience and bring them back? Because that's hard. The staff is talking, they want to come back. Is that good for their career? They just go, power training bases, you guys are surging. You no longer have 1 per drop, you now have 4. And they go, okay, that's cool because people want C5s. Guess who we get? Brand new people that, guess what, we're pilot training next that have like 48 hours, right? So you see how this is creating problems for us as well, but we're trying to manage as best we can and still create opportunities and keep the force safe. This all is like this complex chess. This is like one of my 99 duties that I do, okay? I'm not trying to like complain or anything, but I'm just telling you, this is what is always going through my head. Like, these are the things that I think about at 9 p.m. at night when I'm putting my kids to bed, you know, like you guys. So does that answer your question?
Yeah.
There's no answer to that. It could, I think it's going to stay here. And I think we'll get that probably after the cycle. I think we'll drop down to 95, I think.
Along the same lines with manning, like you're talking about, just the large number of co-pilots that we have right now, I was wondering how far ahead do they look? Because, for example, if like they're looking to solve the issue like our manning, they're like, oh, we have all these co-pilots based on like the chief of staff of the Air Force's
Yep.
Yeah, like with them being like maybe the next summer's VML, could they jump us in line, like for just saying like, hey, if you want it, like go to the UPT right now.
Yeah, so that's
That's
what we're going to be likely doing, right? Is if you are a first assignment person and you've upgraded, do I want to move you right away? No. Do I need to move you right away to keep instructors? Kind of, yeah. Like, this is the hard truth. I'm just telling you that in one hand, that's robbing you a little bit of some AC time, but that doesn't matter. Whenever we pull you back, they don't look at how much AC time you have. They just look at you were in AC, straight up. Whether you were in IP when you left, straight up. Okay, that's really all that matters. So to answer your question, that is who I'm going to be pushing out at right about 3 years. Are folks that are first assignment upgraded, probably have 2 or 3 missions under their belt, and then they have pit to go attend. Just being straight up honest. Is there going to be maybe 1 or 2 that stay around that if I'm successful only having 2 AT assignments, that they're going to stay around and upgrade to IP potentially first assignment, which is rare, like your Jans and your Hafkers, like that's rare. Like that was never a thing when I was flying the B model at Dover and then the M model at Dover. It didn't happen. Just didn't happen. You would coast to coast and then you would upgrade. Like Loftus and Pankov, anomalies. Why? Look at the timing. Airlines started hiring. They lost all their IPs and they said, who's our best co-pilots? Who's our best ACs? First assignment. Pankov, Loftus. Guess what, guys? You're going to be IPs. And they were like, okay, but they're also freaking good now, right? Because they're evaluators and they got boatloads of time. And who do you want to have on your team when you go to war? You want to have one of them. So that is the hard truth, but it's also the hard opportunity that I've been talking about to go to ATC. And I think you could attest with that Jeff, when you saw second assignment folks show up, you saw a very rapid disparity between some folks that were like, where did Captain Smith go? Like, he's a wing exec now, dude. You're like, oh, he was a flight commander yesterday. Like, yep, but guess what? Homeboy has a chance now, or homegirl has a chance. They're working for the colonel. You know what I mean? And it's not as hard as it is here, probably because I did it. At the largest ATC base there is, okay? It's very different. And is it admin? Does it suck? Yeah. But it's also an opportunity to hear from a leader in the Air Force. You see a lot of things you never see as a flight commander. You know, commander's awesome. Everyone's going to go do that as a person. You know what I mean? Whether you stay in or you don't. Because guess who you can write your letter rec to, like FedEx, all his buddies that are on the hiring committee. That wing commander. You see how that works too? You know why? One of the reasons, he's an awesome dude. He flies a badass jet. He was a wing exec. And you know who his boss was? Best friends with somebody. Like, that happens. Like, letters of rec matter. And if you just poured your heart for somebody for a year, guess what they're going to do? They're going to take time to write a badass recommendation letter and probably call or do a handwritten note and send it in FedEx, by FedEx, to the dude on the hiring board. And guess what happens? You get picked up when no one's getting hired right now. You know what I mean? Like, there was a lot of people who were like, dude, how did you get hired? Other than being an awesome dude and badass. It's, well, because he knows some people, because he worked for some people. So there's the other side of the coin. Just consider that. Okay. What else, guys?
So being a part, like, this is my first VML, and first of all, thank you for taking this opportunity. Because I know damn sure, like, if I was in any other squadron, like, this would not be happening to this extent. And like, having this like clairvoyant knowledge of all this is amazing. And I know that what I'm getting right now is 110% well above what someone else might be getting. So thank you.
Yep.
I kind of already had this conversation with Colonel Kramer, because I was kind of, like you were saying, like, I just tell me straight, Doc, like, what's going on.
Yep.
And I know I'm kind of more in that like push up category just because of where I am in my
Timing.
Yeah, exactly. And then not only that, but like my wife and I would have kids, like it just kind of works out.
Mhm.
And I can see the light already at the end of the tunnel. So in knowing that maybe I want to come back to the C5, is it one of those things kind of like Dave Brown, like the sooner I look for
Yeah.
a ATC opportunity, I'm like, I want that, it's like, you're good to go.
Yes, now let me be clear with you too. If your top choice, if your triangle of excellence is like Pensacola in May, you know what I mean, flying a T6, I'd be like, dude, okay, copy your request. But there's like 942 people that want that. All right, just to let you know, like that, just to set expectations.
Yeah.
But if you're like Dave Brown, who's like, I like to go to Columbus, I like to fly T1, and I got kids, may make sense. And I go, let me give it a shot, dude. I think that's doable. I think we can do that. And cha-ching, you get a hard match and get orders. Okay, just to set that straight. If you want to fly T6s at Laughlin because you love Texas and you want to do a 2 and 2, those of you who don't know what that is, as a second assignment person, you do 2 years at a location and say, I want to go to Randolph and fly at the 99th or the 559 Billy Goats because that's awesome. That's the best flying job I ever had in my entire life. This is awesome, but that was awesomer. Okay, I'm just telling you, it was awesome. I controlled my entire schedule. I flew what I wanted to fly. I went cross country I wanted to fly, and I wasn't flying with yahoos that have no idea what up and down is when they're doing an implement. You know what I mean? Like, these were like people that had combat time, and it was cool. Like, you're flying with your buddies. There's that, right? And if you wanted that T6, you know what I mean? Whether you want to do a 2 and 2 or not, T6 to Laughlin and this date, done yesterday. You know what I mean? And you control your life. You can look for houses, so you can freaking tell your girlfriend, and you can make plans. You know what I mean? There's all that stuff that kind of weighs in. Much like Jesse, you know, we're pretty sure we're going to want to go to the Vance, right? Whether T6s or T1s, probably T6s, because the T1s probably be going away over the next 2 years there. Like, that's something that we haven't hard matched yet because I got to talk to him, you know, make sure him and Bailey are cool with it still, you know, and Bailey's still going to tinker. But that is something that I'm going to try and work for him early, right? And when's the best month for him to go? Like, it may be this winter cycle in May because that gets her closer to when she's going to show up in the summer, or it could be based on other people that say, hey, I'd be interested in this winter cycle, maybe like the beginning of the summer, you know, in 22. Like, this is the puzzles that I'm trying to put together. And the earlier I know, the more I can get, and the closer I can get to needs of you, all right? And then what you want. So there's needs and wants, right? Even for you, there's needs and wants. based on your wife, based on your kids, based on what you want, based on what you want to fly. Sometimes they don't align, right? Sometimes your wife's like, no, I like the C5 style. I know you don't want to, I know you want to go fly a T1 or T6 because you got a lot of jollies doing that and it's awesome flying upside down. But I don't want to do that. And you're like, okay, we'll go to Dover. Maybe you don't want to go to Dover. You know what I mean? Or you want to fly, keep flying Fred because that's awesome too. But your wife's like, I miss the ATC life. You know what I mean? Or I miss the C21 life. And you're just like, I didn't like flying that jet. I barely fit. You know what I mean? Like, but okay, honey, I love you. You know what I mean? We'll go do that again. I'll ask the boss. Cool. All right. Yeah, exactly.
Would you mind speculating on what the future of AETC looks like with the T7 coming online then?
Yeah. So T7 is going to go operational more than likely ran off in 23, fiscal year 23. So in 22, at some point on calendar year 22, end of 22. We all know that could potentially slip, but the likelihood of it slipping is less so because of what the CSAS priority is. And guess what? He meets with his A5, you know what I mean, for long-term plans and acquisitions regularly, A8, to get that like secured. And like we have the T7, right? Because guess what majority of our crashes are in ATC is the T38. I flew every airplane in ATC except for that plane because I didn't want to get in. I just didn't. And we don't have anybody who was a T38 dude in here. Okay, I'm not scaring anybody, but I was like, I don't want to go fly that airplane. The one that crashed when I was there, it's a buddy of mine. They were doing a controllability check, right? This is 2010. Advanced at a Hammerhead doing a controllability check, ailerons and everything didn't look right, and the aileron went poof and fell like that because the pin broke. And he was like, all right, let's do our run up, power up, rotate, and it went whoop, just rolled right over. Fastest roll rate, and they had just no chance. They were doomed as soon as that pin broke. It's dangerous things that we do, right? And they have an awesome ejection seat, but you have no chance, no opportunity to punch, and that's it. So he wants us to get out like yesterday, but we all know how acquisitions, how slow it is. But the T7, which is going to be badass in my opinion, no afterburner, just a medium bypass, super powerful engine, configurable, super cool, brand new. They have their own, struggles they're going to have, but it's off of a proven platform that was already developed by Boeing. So I think ATC basis probably in 24, 25. They're going to take people from the T6 math folks and put them in that. It's going to happen because the T1's going away. They have to. And people that are in their T1, because they looked into that for doing the T38s when I was at Randolph. I was actually in a test group that luckily kind of went away. I went to school and didn't happen. But I was in a test group. They're going to say they looked at like the performance of UPT. They looked at different things. And they're like, who's 2 to 3 people in a T1 community that we could just test this on? They were going to send us through T38 pit. And get a qual in the T38. Not necessarily going to go do that job, but they wanted you to like straight up drop all your additional duties and go through it. So what I'm saying is that that's going to happen for folks that are in T1 that are going away. Like I already talked to Sam Howder about that and he's going advanced. I'm like, dude, I got to go in a minute. I was like, dude, like you may get asked whether it's going to be a 2 and 2 for you. You can go down to Randolph and fly T1 at 99th, or they may ask you to like, hey, you want to go down to Randolph and get in the T7 because it just showed up. And he's like, I don't know. I'm like, I don't know, dude. Like it's an opportunity, but it's also a brand new jet. Like it's, the new jet smells cool, but also the dash one's like this thick because there's no mistakes that have occurred, where ours is like, boom, like, so you're right. There's different ways to look at this, but some people are like I can see Chewy, for some reason, he got pushed that way after C-37. He's like, oh yeah, I'll go fly a T7. That'd be bad. That'd be awesome, and that's cool. But everyone has a different appetite for risk. Yeah. All right. What else, guys? Probably one more question, and then I need to show up as they're like, where's the boss?
When do you start doing your one-on-ones with people like, hey,
Now.
man, this is where I think?
Now you're on the VML now. So just get 30 minutes on my or an hour on my schedule with Christina. She shows up Monday. She's on leave for her birthday. Her birthday was yesterday. And just let's talk. This is where it's, you can still use Kramer. That's good. But like, this is where I talk to you. Like it's getting real now. It's getting real. Does that mean you're all going to be given assignments? No. Maybe a third of you. I don't know. Maybe a third of you, maybe realistic, are going to get assignments. Does that make sense? Okay. Was this helpful? Okay, good. Share with your buddies, with your sisters, another squadron. That's cool. But just with the understanding that this is for C5 people, this is for this VML, and it could change the next one, right? It could change next week if General Brown goes, hey, the Joint Chiefs just told me because they just talked to Biden that like we're pulling back. You know what I mean? Like cancel assignments to ATC. Like we don't need as many pilots because we're closing down squadrons. That could happen tomorrow. But right now, I'm giving you what I think is going to be the future. I have about 80% certainty, 90% certainty it's going to be this cycle. Okay, based on all my conversations, based on being in the seat now for almost a year, this is where I think this is going to be. Cool. All right.
I think your schedule says, but I went in the other day to try to put my priorities in. I don't think we can yet. I think it's in a week.
Yeah, it is. Okay, so Leighton's going to send this all out to you. This is the assignment cycle, winter VML.
So if you go in to try and put like what your priorities are, you can't yet. I yesterday.
Yep, sorry, 7 April. My bad, guys. 7 April is the first day to start marketplace assignment preferences and bidding for officers. It'll tell you, you're going to get.
I think right now it's just make sure that you are
No.
squadron commander.
Here we go. Now, first day to submit assignment intent.
Yeah.
So that's 10 March. Sorry, 10 March. You're gonna have this, guys. This is gonna come out and read it all, put it on your fridge.
Important
So 10
right
March.
now is making sure that you're out.
Yeah, you need profile. And
Yeah.
The verbal part or the written part at the beginning.
So yeah, between now and probably 10 March, let's have a conversation. You know what I mean? Now, does it have to happen by 10 March? No, because I got a lot of time before I have to finish. I think I have until last day to submit maps, losing commander inputs, 21 April. I have till 21 April before it's due. So we have some time. That's why I'm doing it now. But over the next like month, I think we should sit down and talk. And I've got my red book and I put my comments in so I don't forget them because I forget a lot of stuff. And I refresh it whenever I have my Tuesdays and I start talking about you guys. And then I guarantee you can talk to like Shoni that I'm going to text you a lot. Like, hey man, this is a possibility. What do you think? You know what I mean? It's not hard yet. When I have these conversations with you, it's right here, soft match. And then I'm going to have another text that says, dude, like, this is looking good. Are you ready to hard match? And you give me the, yeah, boss, I'm good. Now, that's the perfect world. At some point, what's going to happen, I have no doubt, I'm going to get a weird assignment that drops and I have a week to figure it out. And then I'm going to go into triage mode and I'm going to figure out, okay, who are some folks that I held on to, but they're at the bottom of the list. I don't think I'm going to upgrade them. They're, first assignment AC, they fit the bill potentially, or if it's like a pit thing, like I'm going to be calling Asper, like, dude, I know you want to stay here, brother, but like they're going to drop this on me and you're like the only dude that I can send. You know what I mean? Or like delete, if it's the timing's right for delete. You know what I mean? Like, this is where we're at, brother. You know what I mean? It's not a bad assignment, but maybe not be what you want. And I'm going to have a hard conversation with you, and we don't have a lot of time. But that's why you and I need to have that conversation. You need to be real with your family, have an honest conversation with your significant other, okay? To be just realistic. And my hope is that if it happens, you don't hate me because this is what I have to work through, okay? And it's better, in my opinion, to know, like, all right, I'm not getting my number one choice. I'm getting my 23rd choice, but I understand why. You know what I mean? I understand why, and it's not a reaper. Like, literally, there was the reaping, they called, of 2013 when I was at C5s, and everybody was getting, group execs are getting reapers. Like, I avoided it like this. You know why? Because I was a fake. I wasn't a fake. Going to 99th, I was hosed. I was getting a reaper straight up getting a reaper. So it's not bad. ATC is not bad. I promise you, it's not bad. And we've got a lot of people watching and listening to us because of that white paper. So you can thank Loftus, you can thank Adam Smith, you can thank Fez because they helped me a lot. I didn't craft 90% of that letter. I put some fluff at the very end. I sent it to the right people. I cried like a baby a little bit, you know what I mean, to the right people. And they were like, all right, we're gonna read it. And they read it and they were like, oh, like, this is like not whining, this is legit data. I was like, yeah, it's freaking data. Like read it again. And they were like, oh, like we could fulfill what you want and it's not gonna hurt the entire force. Like, yeah, it's a small community. And they go, oh, let's make it happen. I go, thank you. Like, it's hard to get this stuff done, but please know that I'm making these efforts and I'm putting my neck out there a little bit to make sure you guys get as close to what you want and close to what this squadron needs. Okay. Online, anything, guys? I got to go to this STRP. Are we late, Tyler? Is it 11?
Starts at 11. You got time.
No, maybe I'm late for something. Let me just check real quick here. I love doing this stuff, guys. This is what I really, really enjoy. Oh, it's the Deers reporting. Okay. I'll just apologize to Corey. So this is important. Will you just let Corey know that, like, we're doing this and ask him for just a 30-minute slip? Okay. All right, guys. So I'm gonna have a seat again. I'm gonna drink a little bit of my coffee. This is really good. I enjoy this stuff because what do you really care about as a first and a second assignment, dude? You care about upgrades, flying, and gal. You care about flying and upgrades. You care about your next assignment. You know what I mean? And you care about, making sure, your family's getting taken care of as best you can. You know what I mean? Like, what does that equate to, in my opinion? Stability and forecasting. If I can give you stability and forecasting, much of what I did as a DO and Fez has carried a flag for me to like, now we have missions dropping like 2 weeks out. Like that was not a thing to BMO. It was not. I lived my life. I told Andrea, my wife, like, honey, we're gonna live our lives 48 hours at a time for the next 3 years, straight up. And that's what it was. Sometimes it was less than that. So when I had post mission, I would not go too far away from the base. We would like go to Hershey, PA, but like maybe not get 2 nights in a room. We get like 1 night because I was like, I'm gonna get called and they're gonna cancel my PMCR. And it happened like all the time. But the thing was, is everybody was going through that. So that was the norm. You know how many PMCRs we canceled in this squadron? Like none. You know what I mean? Definitely not pilots that I'm recalling. It's probably load masters because I need an instructor load to go back out. And a lot of them are cool with it because they're like, yeah, I'm ready to go back out anyhow. You know what I mean? And go fly. So there's been some significant changes in this community that I've tried to affect. So I've failed some and I've gotten some movement on some others. But I truly believe in making this squadron the best it can be, not just for the Air Force, because that's our mission, because I have to do that, but for you guys, and if things don't go well on the outside and if there's no real options, I don't want you to be like, damn it, I got to stay and this sucks. I want you to be like, that's okay. I like being in the Air Force anyhow. That's cool. It's not like our optimal solution, but I dig it. I love it. I don't have to love it. I like it. It works. You know what I mean? Like that's my goal, and in some of you, I want you to be like, yeah, I love this. Like, I want to do that when I'm a lieutenant colonel someday. That's really something I'm getting after too, because I'm not going to be here forever. Brandon Stock's not going to be here forever. We have to fill the long blue line that is the Double Deuce, and Pelicans. It has to happen. It's a small community. If we don't get it right, we're going to have people coming in from the outside that don't know what Fred's about. Okay. Online, what we got?
Sir, do you mind talking to the timeline a little bit more? I can go through that schedule if people want to, because I've been asked several questions about like when should I update my stuff? You want me to talk to the timeline real quick?
Yeah. Talk to the timeline. That's awesome.
Okay. So if everybody looks at that schedule that you guys have pulled up, since I was on the VML last time, or the summer one. So we all should have got the email through my purse sent to us. Now the boss will have his reclamo window, which is what you see the next one, 10 through 24 Feb. And then on 10 March, which Colonel Trumbull already spoke to, that will be when you get, I think on Talent Marketplace, a list of questions. It's not going to be your assignment preferences yet. It'll be just like your intent. Are you planning on getting out of the Air Force? You plan on separating after this assignment? Do you have an issue with going to UPT assignments or AETC assignments? So you answer all those questions through that timeline. And then 17 March is when the billet owners are going to put their requests and their priorities of what they need. Let's see. And then they have about, I think it's a week, 17 to 24 March. On 7 April, that's when every one of us needs to go on and start putting your assignment preferences. So it should, if you go into Talent Marketplace, it'll actually like give you a ping, an email, and give you the due dates. And I believe you have another, 2 weeks to do that. So hopefully if you're on a mission, come back. If you don't have a laptop on you, try to find a computer, but you should be able to do it anywhere throughout the world on a government computer, log in to Talent Marketplace and put your assignment preferences. And you can go in there and change it anytime you want and update. So if you and the boss have a conversation about like, hey, this is the UPT assignments I have, if you want to move it from number 3 to number 4, move it to number 1, you can do that anytime up in that 2-week period. And then it's the one-on-one communication that you have with the boss on like, hey, this is what we have, this is what we don't have. So he kind of talked about the bids earlier. I was bid on last, I think, cycle for a C40, but it's just not what AFPC needed. So like my options were Dover or UPT, and I decided I'd rather stay to see what this winter VML would do for us. But that's kind of the timeline, just so everyone knows what that schedule actually means.
So the questions that you answered, before you rack and stack.
Yep.
It sounds like this is a worry that I had, especially going through the academy, because you had those guys who were like, hey, I got did in the Air Force. Like, I answered the questions honestly, and I got screwed over.
Yeah.
And like, they were just like, hey, you gotta play the game right. It sounds like we're finally going to a place where it's like, hey, just be honest and it'll be good for you, so.
That's the good and the bad of my vector is like, it's like, it matters like 10%. They're not going to go through there and like, all right, rip everyone off that's planning to get out of the Air Force for all the good deals. Like, it doesn't work that way. Like this is some data collection for them. After I have the conversation, they go, okay, the boss is pushing Alex to go do this. I got 10 minutes. Let's look what he put in my vector and see if he got a bid. Oh, he did. That's cool. You got bid number 1. That's cool too. The boss says it's good. Works for the Air Force. Let's offer a soft match.
Those intent questions are also built for like commanders that aren't doing this with you, so he can just consolidate.
Yes,
and be like,
the bids.
is he getting out? Is he staying in? Like,
Yep.
It's kind of unnecessary. You should still do it, but like that's the difference. Like,
Thank you.
The C-17 squadron isn't doing that, so he just looks at it in my vector.
Okay.
It feeds their bids because I bid on people, right?
Mainly in that portion.
It's like I bid on Time Arcot, and then I talked to, and I knew that bid on Time Arcot to bring him in, because the lieutenant colonel was coming in here soon. I knew it didn't mean a lot. So what did I do? I texted the wing commander because we had a little bit of a rapport at that point. We have a lot more now. But I said, hey boss, this is why we need a student back. I know he went to C40s, he's on the joint staff, and before he gets snatched up, on like an Eagle board or a Hawk board, Hawk being ATC squadron commanders, because it could happen. He was a fake like me. That's how I met him. Met Tom Arcot. I was like, we need to get him like yesterday. He's like, all right, let me see what I can do. A week later, he had orders. Because wing commanders can call him to do that. To a certain extent. Because he was early. He didn't hit the VML yet. He was just barely 22 months of joint time. And he barely met a VML earliest to move. So you can get waived all the way down to 13 months. There's some more gouge. You can get waived all the way down to 13 months, guys. But when you're on staff, they want 22 months, especially if you're joint staff, because that gives you like joint officer credit. It's a bunch of BS. We'll talk about that later whenever you're older. If you want to reach out when you're a lieutenant colonel. That's the maneuver space you have when it's early. When you start hitting 36 months and people start putting their name in for boards like Phoenix, Eagle, and Hawk, you lose control. And I'm saying you, like wing commanders lose control. Even general officers lose control because it's met a formal board that's chaired by a 2-star. In our case, general bit, for the math. Okay.
When I spoke to Kramer a few months ago, he was talking about us potentially having future plans for Det 6.
Yep.
Is there what's the plan going forward for that, and will there be any spots like in the future?
Yeah, so that was in the white paper that I pushed out. And I said, hey, unlike the C-17s, unlike the 135 that have Altus, unlike the KC-10s that have the FTU like across the street, there's no seasoning opportunity as a third option. It's either coast to coast or nothing for C5s. Like nothing, there's nothing, right? It's 2 squadrons. It's super limited opportunity. I said a third priority is we need to probably open up and see if there's positions that we can get down to Det 6. And oh yeah, by the way, they need people down there because they're reserves. You know what I mean? It's super tough to put a flying schedule together. Here's where it gets tricky. It's AFRIC, right? So it's the reserves, and an active reserve associate can be tricky to get money for, coupled with the Det 6 positions, believe it or not, are staff positions. I found that out a couple months ago when I was trying to get Richard Hunt. So I'm trying to get Richard Hunt down there. There you go. I've been trying to do this for 8 months to get Richard Hunt down there. There's family, EFP, some other things, good for the Air Force. He's an instructor pilot. I'd love to keep him, but he's away from his family. They live down in Vegas because they can't be up here. Like, that sucks. He's literally been on deployment for the past 2 years. And I've hit a brick wall 3 times, and I'm pushing through the last one now to get him to go down there because they're not funding it. Because the staff match by APC did not put Det 6 as a high priority. They keep telling me, they're like, man, send him to like DC, send him to Scott. I'm like, I can't send him to Scott because of the FMP. It's got to go to an expedited airbase. And I get somebody else up there and staff's like, hey, send him to Scott. I'm like, who are you talking to? It's super frustrating for me. And he's going to be lieutenant colonel that way. I got him a DP out of here. So I pushed him as hard as I can to get that DP. And I've got to get him out of here because I can't sustain that. I'm like, brother, I'm trying to get somebody else up there. So you got to leave. Like, you need to leave and you want to leave. So let's make this happen like yesterday. And APC is just giving me like the people's elbow. And it's not so much APC, it's the staff match because they're the broker between me, operational, and staff. You know what I mean? To get that approved, because there's several functionals down there, ATC functionals, C37 functionals, staff functionals for all the different MAGCOMs. Like it's a massive puzzle palace down at APC. If you ever get the opportunity to walk through there, just go do it. It's gonna blow your mind how huge it is. It's like DGMC, but it's a staff. You know what I mean? Like, think about that. It's huge. It's massive. It's like the Pentagon almost. Like it's like a third of the size of the Pentagon. It's huge. And lots of civilians who don't like waivers and don't like changing things. They like to be very smooth because they want to come in at 8 and then leave at 4. You know what I mean? And they love COVID because they can work from home now. You know what I mean? Like, there's this, you see what I'm trying to battle here? So to answer your question, yes, I'm trying to open up positions down there, but it is an uphill battle. It is a flipping uphill battle. So I'll be the first one to tell you that if I get Rich Hunt to go down there, the only way I'm going to likely get another position to open up is if someone leaves. And people go down there and extend like 5 years. Why? Because it's dead 6. And it's like, I fly when I want to fly. I can fly Fred. If it cancels, no skin off my back, because there's no like group commander that really cares. The group commander's like, no, it's Fred. You know what I mean? So you know what I mean? It's like its own like nepotistic cell that is really hard to mold and massage. And the IPs that are in here that were part of that IP calibration phone call I have with Brandy King, she's like one of our few advocates down there. She's moving boulders and she lives there. You know what I mean? Like, she was there. She's a DO, but she at least is accepting kind of our input. So that's a long answer to your short question. But I think my hope is, I'm praying that I get Richard Hunt down there, and I'm not going to get another one until somebody dies or leaves. Like, that's morbid, but like literally, like until somebody like retires, you know, or PCSs. This is the next time I'll get somebody down, and it's got to be an IP. Okay. What else?
Has the pipeline from pilot training been cut off for C5s because we're so overmanned and trying to keep...
It's slowing down. Now it's back down to like 1, like across the 3 bases, 1 or 2 across the 3 bases.
Okay.
For drops, back to normal.
Yeah.
Because I told them, like, guys, stop it, like stop it yesterday. And they're like, oh, it's already like approved for the year. And I'm like, oh. What you find is anytime a personnel moves, you have to almost have a crystal ball and make it happen 2 years from now. Like, you have to know what's going to happen 2 years from now and request the change then. And then it'll take effect. So you get this like swing that's just ridiculous. You know what I mean? And when I was in your seats, I was like, this is ridiculous. Like, we're the best Air Force in the world. We can't get this right. It's because all the bureaucratic processes we have in place. You know what I mean? And I'm trying to work ahead and take a little risk as best I can to get people in the pipeline to be commanders in the future, to get people in the IPs in the future to come back, because they went to HC White Jets and we brought them back and did an in-house upgrade, because guess what? I can in-house upgrade now because you went to PIT. Like, I can do that, right? It's in the Vol 1. I can do that. Another thing to think about, instead of having to go back down to Kelly, which is cool, unless you have family and kids and there's, you know, something going on here at Dover or Travis, and you're like, I'd like to do in-house. Dave Schrift, he's doing it because he went through C21 IP school. Now, is that an exception to the rule? Yeah, because I like sending people down to Kelly for one, because that's their job, right? I want to force them into doing that and working for us. You know what I mean? I'm not going to solve their problems. And I've also got how many co-pilots? 42 in this squadron. And when Dave Schrift goes through IP school here, guess what? That's a resource. It's 4 locals a week. It used to be 3. I made a 4th when I became the DO. There's only so many I had to work with. And he's taken up a shit ton of that time. That's going to be for you guys. You know what I mean? Like, right? Like you want to get out there and get seasoned. We've been deliberate on getting you guys that experience. I need you to upgrade ACs. You know, there's an intent. Like Tyler Will and me and Chewy and Loftus and Fez and everybody, we spent a lot of time trying to put this puzzle together. So that while you were balancing opportunities for you guys, that's because the job moves is going to occur right after the ops or STRP, but also putting ops first, because an opportunity to be an exec or an opportunity to go be, you know, an assistant chief pilot or DS or whatever, you know, chief of readiness is cool, but it doesn't matter if we start doing bad things in jets, right? I use the cake analogy. Like, if you've got the best icing in the world on a shit cake, it's nothing, right? The cake's got to be solid. The cake's got to be good. Who cares what the icing is? You know what I mean? Does that make sense? We're making cakes here, not icing. Icing on a turd, still a turd. All right. What else?
I heard we want them around till 2028. Just
Oh, no doubt.
I think that I know that, like,
No doubt. Why? Because guess who's going to lose it last? Randolph.
To phase it out.
Yeah, Randolph's going to be the last one to have them, and then Pensacola, because Pensacola is where the CISO training happens. And before you say, I'm going to go fly T1s into CISO, there's 3 positions down there to fly T1s at Pensacola. It's the group commander, the DO, and an evaluator. 3. Okay, so, and guess what they do? They extend for 4 or 5 years because it's Pensacola and you're flying T1s. They're literally flying it by themselves. That's the only T1 that's single pilot certified in the Air Force.
Wow.
So that's kind of cool.
There are contractors that do it too.
And the contractors, yeah, so there's that, there's GS-13s. The GS-13s are the IPs. So what was your original question? Was it gonna be around? Yeah.
No, I just heard it. I was just
Yeah,
throwing it out there.
no doubt.
From a faith, I know.
It'll be gone out of Vans probably in 23, you know what I mean? And then I think is it Clumsterloffen after that?
I don't know.
I'm trying to remember. So they'll phase out probably end of 23, beginning of 24. And then a year after that, it'll be Columbus or Loffen, the next base, you know what I mean? And then guess what? There's still people flying those assignments. And guess where they go through? The 99th. There's still commanders and those 6s are going to fly that jet going there because they weren't 38 qual or fighter qual. They're going to go through that. So the 99th is going to get all the last ones. So that's also a benefit is if you want to go do T1s advanced, if they still offer a few, miss VML, you're going to have an opportunity. Like they're going to offer you choices like, hey, you want to go T6s? Do you want to go down to Randolph? Or you want to go back to C5s? You know what I mean? Like you literally do like probably 18 months there and be like, I'm ready to go back. And they'd be like, okay, because we have nowhere else to put you here. You know what I mean? Like literally that's going to be an opportunity to think about. I told Sam that, right? There's probably going to be maybe one. We send T1s to advance and then now you've got a decision to make. Because the commander's going to do like this. He's going to get his folks in the room, like, all right, everyone else is leaving. He's going to get out of the Air Force. You guys don't have to come here. Everyone else is still staying in. Here are the 3 choices, guys. And if you're old enough staff, you know what I mean? If you're a major, what do you guys want to do? Rack and stack it because he's got to make the decision in a week. One of those things that's going to happen. Much like it happened for the T-37s. I was the last T-37 class that went to advance. Same thing happened for the IPs. Like literally, I remember the flight commander talking about it with the assistant flight commander because they just came back from it. We were hanging around the flight room. As a student, we were in the end of our check ride phases for form. And they were talking about, he's like, give us 3 choices. And I was like, I don't know, man. Like, this is 1, 2, and 3. So I said, I don't know. We'll see what happens. Like, literally, that's what they did. He got T6s and came back as a T6 IP. It's a 130 dude. Turtle is his call sign. So, and he's out now. So that's, he's retired. So that's that. Did I answer your question? So yeah, 28, easy. Easy. It'll be Randolph. And then it'll stick around probably at 32 and down to Pensacola until literally the planes, the best planes, have flown their wings off. And they're like, we don't need scissors anymore. You know what I mean? Because in 2032, the only scissors are gonna be left. The B1 will probably be gone. You know what I mean? The buff might be around. You know, maybe they put a computer back there that does a scissor job. Like, I don't know. But the scissor classes are doing this slightly. You know, they're getting smaller and smaller, controlled by Randolph. It's under Randolph, the wing there. The GSQ. What else? Somebody had a question online, I think, and got cut off, maybe.
Sir, I just wanted you to talk about, you were talking about upgrades a little bit. The initiative we took about converting PTX to PCO for the co-pilots in the ring.
Yes. So we didn't get enough PCO slots for all of our co-pilots that are going to upgrade ACs. So we converted some of the PTX slots. That was a big change. I worked that through APC. APC made the request, not me, to AMC. So a parent half organization requested a MAGCOM below them to make the change. So there's some education there when you get to staff work, how you have to affect change. Sometimes you have to go around your boss, you know what I mean? Staff bosses, okay, there's a difference, staff bosses, to get that effect changed about who we got it. So that was big. How many we buy back? Was it 2, 3?
So right now we got 2 in April, and then we're trying to get 2 more in June. But once you cancel those courses as well, correct me if I'm wrong, sir, but like that's 2 brand new pilots coming in, either ACIQ or PIQ, plus engineers are tied to those slots too. So if you think about that, that's good for the squadron, especially our young experience. We're not going to get a lot more co-pilots and engineers in. It kind of helps us out in the long run.
So I'm always, there you go. I'm having a conversation with just the pilots in the squadron. I've got 2 other crew positions that I'm worried about. My engineers are getting young and I'm losing a lot of them. And I have almost no control as a squadron commander over my enlisted force. That probably blows your mind. That's 100% true. True, Pollock through the wall, through the roof. These drove them crazy. It's driving me crazy now. And every course I cancel, I'm not getting 2 new engineers to get in the pipeline. But I've also got 12 in backlog right now. So I was like, nah, I don't care because I got 12 in backlog. We only have 2 loadmasters in backlog. We solved that. We're solving it still. But now I'm shifting focus. Never ends, right? I'm shifting my focus now to engineers. I'm like, all right, what do I do now? Do I start locals on Fridays? You know what I mean? And we start doing locals. I got lots of co-pilots. And I've got lots of engineers that need some seasoning. That's what their seasoning is on locals because they're doing 4-line checklists like 35 times. You know what I mean? That's kind of good because that forces muscle memory, habit patterns. So that way, whenever they're tired, whenever they're flying in a bog room and you're doing a TR descent, you know, they're gonna be like, hey, sir, tonight, do we do the full lane checklist? You're like, oh, fuck, no. Gears up, and we're on 2 mile final. You know what I mean? Let's go around and put the gear down. You know what I mean? Like, I think about that stuff a lot, you know, because I've been in micro sleep before flying, going in the bog room before it turned over to ISIS, where I was on final. And I was like, I did this. I was flying, I was the AC, and I looked back, my co-pilot was like this, he had his hand on the yoke, and I looked back, and the engineer was like doing this, and like smacking his face, and I was like, this is fucking dangerous. Like, I was like, and I did the same thing, I was like smacking my face, I'm like, holy shit, like, we're laying in bog room, I need to get my shit together, otherwise, like, bad things happen, you know, and I'll be the first one to tell you, that stuff happens on the road all the time. We were also flying our asses off, because it was 2010, 2011, you know, and the war was still going on both locations, and we were just getting turned and burned at 276 days out of 365 gone, you know, literally gone from my home flying in 1 year. But that stuff happens. And I'm just like, how do I get my engineer force sharp? So when you're not at your best, you got a Wiggers back there who's just like, Asper, hey, I don't think we did this yet. And you're like, oh shit, thanks bud, crew safe. You know what I mean? Crew safe all the flipping time, all the time. Preventing Q3s, preventing incidences, all that stuff. You know what I mean? Like, this is hard. Flying Fred is hard, but when everything goes right, it's flipping awesome. Okay. And Q3s happen. I have one. Cat's out of the bag. I had an ascent check with my first check ride in C5. I'll go into details later over beer sometime. Does everyone feel like they got slided? Absolutely. I feel like I got slided, but I also recovered from it. And I was like, that's motivation now. I'm going to be the best C5 pilot I can be as a favor. And here I am. You know, and if I want to get hired, I use that as a reason to hire the airline to say, this is how I got better and recovered from micro failure. And they go, that's happening all the time in airlines.
Well,
I guess they're gone.
it looks like it.
Looking good, Adam.
Hey man, thanks.
I hadn't scrolled over to see other people's faces. You really are in Colorado.
Yeah, I am. I got about 8 hours of driving to do today still, so.
Okay, well,
Yes.
I guess we leave. No.
Yeah, I gotta get going.
Yeah, I think we've reached the maybe the climax of that meeting.
Yeah, I agree. All right, we'll see you guys.
See ya.
All right, see you.
All right, see you. It lets me leave. What the fuck? Oh, there you are.
I dropped. So that's that, guys. If you got questions, save them for our one-on-one time. If you think it's a collective question, if one of you wants to pull some stuff and we can collectively answer it to me, just send it to the execs. I'll answer it and put it in a little email and blast it back out to you guys because I have this appointment that I can reply to. Then do it, you know. Otherwise, we'll just do it on our one-on-one. And there's some private stuff that you're not going to share in here that we want to talk to, and I hold it. You know, there's obviously things I don't share to Kramer. Because it's personal stuff, you and your family. That happens all the time. I put in my red book. My red book is my drawer, and I get it back out whenever it's time to start doing this stuff. Cool. Helpful? Do it again in the future?
Sure. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you.
Have fun, Tony.
Mark,
See ya. Yeah.
Meetings all day.